Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, that lad, back again for the episode 105 of the DayZ Podcast. I'm joined again today by my good friends Dump and Lemons. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad, man. I'm doing pretty well.
Not too bad.
Very nice, very nice. Have you fixed your microphone yet, Lemons?
Yes, we've made a lot of strides here.
Nice, very, very nice.
Do we get to see your pretty face?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I gotta hold off for episode 110, the big or 111, the three ones. You know, gotta make it special.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Episode 111, we'll get to see this boy's face. Mwah, brilliant. But yes, it has been a very interesting week, both on the DayZ side and the Armour side. If you caught our earlier stream on Tuesday, you'll know that it was a really awesome time. Really, really cool. Been a lot of interesting things about that, but we will be talking about that most likely later on. Hello, everybody. I really do appreciate you coming along. I really, really do. It's great to get back in for this Friday. And you're all beautiful. All beautiful. So, 118. Quite surprising, considering it's been a month since 117 hit stable. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's amazing.
I was impressed.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that impresses me, and I know that this isn't directly correlated to its content, folks. A month after we had an update, we're getting another update, and they're both major updates.
Yes.
I mean, they weren't lying though. Cool. They did say with 1.17 that they were already hard at work on the next update, so they weren't lying.
they really bloody weren't. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, it's just exciting because how long did we have to wait between updates in the past? Like, I know they've been ramping stuff up, but like usually there was like only like 4 updates in a year, and we've already had 5.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's absolutely crazy, and I've been trying to keep track of, like, you know, from experimental to stable, and it was like, what, the first one was announced in 117 experimental was announced in March, and then it came out in April, which is fair, about a month for experimental before it hit us. You know, great, fantastic. And then the tweet came out. What was it, Monday or Tuesday, something like that, maybe Wednesday, one of those days. And it was like, right, okay, so we're getting noob tubes. And, you know, a lot of people like myself, it really did scale speed. It really did want to upstage Reforger. Did it work? I don't know. We'll get to that. But when I heard the sound, it was like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people was like, oh, the underslung grenade launchers. But I was not expecting what we got. And I was not expecting the pox shells.
I don't think a lot of people were.
No, I was honestly expecting, yes, we'd get HE, would get smoke, but I was honestly expecting tear gas, not goddamn pox. Like, that's fantastic. I mean, I've tried to, like, mess around with it in the offline, but it didn't work too well because it's offline. So, but Lemons, you've tried it out, haven't you?
Yes, I had a lot of fun working with that stuff. I managed to get it working with the editor on 1.18. So we had a bit of trouble at first, but then I realized that you have to go into the item and enable its simulation and the damage for it.
Yeah, that's probably why I couldn't get it to bloody work.
So once we did that, everything started working smoothly. But I've got to say, this was crazy. I was picking this stuff apart for hours, making sure I did every scenario, every situation, and it was awesome. I've got to say, it was awesome. And I think a lot of console people are going to really love this stuff because we've seen stuff like this come up before with the expansion on PC, but console has never had any sort of explosive projectile weaponry, anything like that. So I think that having them have the chance to dip their toe into a feature like this is going to make them all very happy.
Oh,
and it's going to make a lot. Oh yeah, and it's going to make a lot of new server ideas. Like, just imagine like Pox Dodgeball on console. Like, that would just be. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
That'll be class. That would be funny.
That would be awesome.
But on the modding side for stuff like this, Dump, what do you think? Because having a new weapon like this, I mean, I know I'm kind of like the weapons guy, but there's got to be some really interesting stuff that's really tickles your interest.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that tickle my interest. We finally got physics for
Hmm.
handling explosive projectile things. Now, we've had this in the past with bullets, but
Hmm.
the way they're handling explosions and stuff, from what I can tell in 1.18, it's not the same as bullets creating explosions as we saw
Hmm.
before in the previous patches, which is what's really cool. So what I'm talking about, folks, is they gave us new coded physics for us to be able to experiment with and create some more unique, interesting experiences.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's really interesting. Um, from other modding perspectives, having new animations, which, by the way, that reloading animation for the grenade launcher is awesome because it also means that there are plenty of other ideas out there for people to do. I'm no weapon modder, so Lad probably can talk more about this, but I can actually picture some fun things to do with those reloading animations without actually using a weapon.
Yeah. Oh mate, it's all really really good. But as a lot of people in chat have already said, base building. I am very very surprised they haven't announced any kind of buff or config or anything like simple for server owners to make it better. Like yeah, all you got all these explosions, like explosive types and improvised explosives and whatnot, and you got the new grenade launcher. Fantastic, brilliant content. You know that's the great part of it. Content gives use to some items which never get used. But bases, they need a little bit of love. Now,
I
as
have a little
DayZ
bit of
Hub,
opinion on that.
oh boy, go for it.
Uh, it has been a long subject for quite a few updates now. I probably remember this. There was a Reddit post about no base servers, and I think DayZ's paying attention to those kind of people, as well as the majority of streamers and stuff don't like bases, and they're giving more ways to raid. The thing is shooting someone's. It takes like what, five
Yeah,
grenades to go through one wooden wall,
five. Yeah.
right?
Yes, for
um,
the entire thing.
which
Yeah.
means that the wall, if built right behind it, might take three. But one thing I think folks are failing to realize is that experimental servers usually have a lot of things buffed up so you can play with them. I don't think this is how it's going to be an official where you're going to be finding this stuff in abundance.
Hmm.
No,
Um,
not at all.
Yeah.
and with that logic in mind, it takes about like, I think, was it 11 grenades to go through one wall. So if you really think about it, if these things are going to be more rare than grenades, it's going to be harder to farm them. But what I'm trying to say is the majority of people don't like base building. And because of that, I think BI is trying to give base building and base raiding more of a purpose than just watching people hole up in a base with 8 wall
Hmm.
depths, right? They're going like, hey, now we're giving you reasons to raid those people and raid easily.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
Again, I've always been a person that's been a big benefactor of base building and raiding is a scales of balance.
Yes,
If you as
absolutely.
a server owner can't balance those scales, then you need to readjust how you do things.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe that next update we might get some base building love.
I think we should. I mean, Mark's at the start of the year, I believe it was. He made a video about base building, got a lot of traction. The DayZ devs actually responded like, "Yes, we're going to be focusing on base building." This could be, in my opinion, like the very first steps towards that. However, I
Yeah.
do feel like they've gone about it a little bit the wrong way, in my opinion. I think they should have done these kind of additions to what we've got now. Brilliant, but they should have announced something to do with base building itself, because if they leave it alone, it might cause issues. Just speaking of vanilla wise,
Yeah.
but
Now,
yeah, so
community-wise on
it's
console, though, I
oh
would like
yeah,
to jump in there. I
yeah,
would
go
like to
for it.
jump in quickly. So, a majority, I'm going to say at least 90% of every community server on console now, since the last update, has begun using that build everywhere feature, where you can
Yes.
disable the building parameters and all that stuff, so you can just place anything everywhere you want. And the issue with that is people have now started to exploit that and place walls inside of walls, and they'll have like walls that are made of 9 different walls.
Uh-huh.
So they're very thick, and it's pretty much impossible to raid those. So I think in that instance, not talking about official, having those grenade launchers is going to help a lot with those bases, because I know a lot of people, if you guys are playing on console, you know the difficulties of having to raid some bases because they are like Fort Knox. Like you'll have I've seen some bases before, it's 8 to 10 walls thick and they're all inside each other.
Oh yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So it
And
provides a good counter for that. It provides a good counter for that.
Well, that's it. I mean, when you put that into consideration, yes, it's like, yeah, it's pretty interesting the way that they've gone about it. But I do think that, you know, if people talk about it, especially on the feedback tracker, or if people express concerns on the public platforms, like, you know, we've got this stuff cool, but what is going to happen with base building? Is there going to be any boss down the line? I'd imagine they'd get feedback about how the stuff functions now, and then based on that they'll go on and do the changes to the base building. I'm not too sure. Obviously, I don't fucking work there, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I do want to talk about the actual post. Now, I've not read this yet. The 118 experimental release page. I completely missed this. I completely missed it. So we're going to be going through just a little bit. Probably is not the full thing, because it's quite a lot. Greetings, survivors. A month has passed since we released update 117. Wow, I didn't know that. So those of you who read the corresponding article we published know what that we've been... I can't read. Right, let's start again. Those of you who read the corresponding article we published know that we've already been hard at work on the next update. Well, we're excited to announce that the experimental build of Update 118 is now live on Steam and Xbox. We got a lot of new tools to discuss this time around, so let's get to it. First off, there are plenty of new explosives to be found and made. There's the Claymore, which is... it looks really nice, but it's not as strong as the other stuff. A directional mine found in high tier military areas, which can be detonated remotely. I am actually quite interested in how they've got the angle, so I will be looking into that in the near future. Next, we have a powerful plastic explosive that can be found in industrial areas and combined with a new remote detonation unit, which is really cool, which is meant to be detonated from a safe distance. Finally, all you crafty survivors out there can also create an improvised explosive device from a protector case. This device accepts a variety of explosives found in the game and can be activated with a remote detonation unit, alarm clock or kitchen timer, which is great because we've been wondering what the hell's the point in the alarm clocks and the kitchen timer. But yes, it's so speaking of explosive things, we've also added a grenade launcher. We chose to go with the legendary M79, which, Dump, you said is actually from Reforger, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes, so they've backported another weapon, which is still great because it looks really nice, although I feel like it's a little bit too glossy on the stock, but that's my opinion. Because we feel this one fits with our gameplay the best, unlike the underslung grenade launchers for existing assault rifles, which we deem too powerful, which is it's really strange. It's really, really strange. King Juan, I have no idea. Someone under the map.
I mean, is that a console problem?
It's most likely console problem. I never hear about it on PC, so...
What about you, Lemons? Do you hear about that?
Which one? About the people swimming under the map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a desync issue on console.
Right.
It's not on... It's hard to reproduce it, and sometimes it can be very easy, but it depends on the platform you're on. Because
Right.
actually, it's more easier, I think, on the older gen consoles.
Okay.
But there is a way right now on console for players to get under the map and just through desync, and then once they log in, they will spawn in wherever they swam to. So you could technically phase anywhere, which includes people's bases.
Oh.
So you could swim under the map and try and position yourself where you're right under the base, and the second you log back in, you'll be up on the ground.
Right.
So,
it'll kind of track your position where you're on the world, and then it'll just shoot you straight back where you should be on that
snap to ground.
Yeah, that is fucked.
And it's become a big issue recently. It's become very well known because it used to be a small thing and only a few server owners knew about it.
Right.
But recently it's been exploited a lot. There's a lot of videos showing how to do it. So I think now more than ever, it should be tackled by the development team because a lot of people have been crying out for it. A lot of people have been crying out for a fix for that.
Yeah, no, it's no wonder that is fucked. Or
Yeah, it sounds bad.
why the fuck are they not? I mean, I know it's a desync issue, and it probably is related to like the older hardware, but still, they should have come up with a solution on that because there's people. Well, a couple of people in chat said, "Oh, you can do it on PC." It's like
let's get down brass tacks.
Yeah.
The more people that record it, the more people that support the feedback tracker ticket and stuff, the more attention it's going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
in chat right here. He said in the chat that he's told Bohemia 10 times that it needs to kill you if you log out in water. And I think that could be a good way to mitigate the issue. So if a player logs out in water, it would be the same if they log out while they're unconscious.
Agreed.
Where they would just die instantly. What do you think about that, lad?
Yeah, I think they should do that. I think they absolutely should, because
that would be bad.
It doesn't make sense that you can log out on water. I mean, swimming in water is risky enough, but it'll be a good solution to try and mitigate that. You try and sure, you swim under the map. You log out. Well, that's it. You're fucked. I mean, I'm not too sure if anybody can confirm. If anybody can confirm if I was gonna say shit. I'm reading chat while I'm talking. If anybody can confirm if when you swim under the water, can you get back on land without logging in? That'll be interesting. But back on topic.
I don't believe you can.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But back on topic. It's quite an interesting thing. I do want to talk about that some other time. Thanks for making me aware of that, because I wasn't aware it was as bad as it is. So thanks, Lemons, for clarifying that. So much appreciated, guys. Thank you. Right. Okay, you must relog. Right. Okay, well, BI, get on that. Get him water, you die. You step in it, you die. No, but... Right, so the M79 also comes with a variety of 40mm grenades, which can be found in different places across the world. There are other firearm additions as well, but we'll leave it up to you to discover what they are. But you put them in the patch notes, we already know what they are. Since many of these newly created items are considered very powerful combat and base raiding tools, they will be difficult to acquire under the balanced economy we intend to provide. To allow for easier access during this experimental period, we've adjusted the spawning of these tools so they appear more frequently and in lower tier areas. That makes sense, because it's like, King Juan, if you can calm it down with the caps, please, that'll be, great. Thank you. We're aware of the situation. You don't have to, keep going on about it. But thank you. It is a big problem, but we've talked about it. We'll talk about it more in the future. I want to learn more about it. I'm going to be doing some research, but thanks for thank you for raising awareness about it first off. So, but hopefully, they are stupid tiny. They are. Hopefully, the economy for stable is going to be, obviously, it's going to be the proper way on how they're going to do it. Because one of my friends the other night, they found an M79 grenade launcher in Zelenogorsk in the train station. So, quite interesting, but it's probably from the loot overflow that DayZ has. So,
and it's just making sure that people understand that too.
Yes,
it's just making sure people understand that, because a lot of people think this may be what it's going to be like when it releases.
Oh yes.
So making sure people understand this is not at all what it's going to be like in the standalone stable release. Yes, this is just so people have a chance to test them out, and everyone gets a chance to have a try using this stuff. So
well, that's it. I mean, that's the whole point of experimental, and it's good that they're taking that on board and actually going through with it. But yes, so this I kind of want you to talk about a little bit more, because you're more familiar with this kind of stuff, I guess you could say. We've also tweaked the sensitivity settings for console builds, especially the settings for the right controller stick. Camera and aiming sliders are now responsible for adjusting speed, while the new curvature sliders affect the sensitivity curve. The controller sensitivity settings are now also visible, even when the mouse and keyboard mode is enabled. What the fuck does this mean?
Okay, so I'm going to admit, when I first saw this, I was in the exact same position. I did not know what the hell they were talking about, but I did a bit of research, and I looked at other games that do something similar, and it's just to make things a bit easier for us, because I know a lot of people, anyone in the chat right now that plays console, will know that within the past few updates, they've made sensitivity a bit wonky. They've made sensitivity a bit wonky, and you've been
Right.
forced to have to use a keyboard and mouse if you want to have a good sensitivity.
Right.
So
I do think I do recall people on Twitter complaining about the sensitivity on console. I do recall that, so I assume this is to address that, which is great.
yes,
But I
and
did
add more
interrupt you, so
functionality as
continue on.
well. Yeah, oh yeah,
Right,
no
okay.
worries, no worries. But they're trying to add more functionality because a lot of people have different play styles and they play differently. And because on console,
Mhm.
DayZ isn't just for hardcore players, but it's more so adapted for a casual play style as well, which you could say the same for PC, but it's a bit less. There's a lot less casual gamers, in my opinion, that play on PC, and it's more so like a Xbox and PlayStation because you have that home arcade type feeling. So
Right.
there's a lot more casual players on there.
Yes, of
So
course.
giving them the ability to better tailor the way they can play and tailor their play style will make it a lot better because I know a lot of people have very different views on how they want their sensitivity. So giving that in-depth ability to adjust that will be
Uh-huh.
amazing. I know a lot of
Oh,
people who play
absolutely.
console and play Siege on console, like Rainbow Six on console. They will also appreciate. I know it's a bit of a flyball here, but they've also got a very good mechanic scheme for their controls, and DayZ has done something very similar to the approach they took.
Mhm.
And it's in both cases, I think it's going to be very beneficial. Because I know for one, when I used to play Siege back in the day, when they added that update,
Yeah.
so many people had a lot better of an experience, and it
Oh
will
yeah.
make PvP better on console as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the
Well,
main
that's
thing.
good.
Is as long as it really does focus on improving the player experience, because like what I said before, it really done it from what I can what there words. It's been a long day, guys. What I can imagine is that a lot of people in the last update, there were some complaints, there were some issues, and definitely valid. So it's good that they took this step to address it, to create more systems for you, for it to be more personal to yourself, and that's what I'm all about.
Exactly.
I'm
And
it'd
like
be
Yeah.
he was
really
saying as
cool.
well here, he said it's crazy, either too fast or too slow. There's no in between. So
Yes.
now that we have that chance, we'll be able to find the middle ground that each player wants because not everyone wants fast and slow is subjective to each player. So what's fast for one person may be slow for another person.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
So
exactly. It's
exactly. So
it's
giving
Agreed.
them
kind of
that
like.
opportunity will make it a lot easier for people to set their own play style in
Well,
that
that's it.
sense.
It's kind of like when people's got the wrong kind of like, for example, custom houses like I've got and Dump has as well. With weights. It's all personal. You know, my mouse might feel heavy to dump, but to me it's very light, or vice versa. I know it's a bit of a different kind of thing, but the premise is similar. So
Exactly. So it's like we're weighting our joysticks pretty much.
yeah.
We're adding weights to our joysticks in a sense.
Well,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
I can see that.
So sorry if it looks like I was just on my phone. You're right. I was just loading up the agenda on my phone, so I don't have to constantly tap back and forwards. I need a third monitor. That's what I need. But so and a couple of things as well. We're on the subject of controls. We've made major changes to the key binding menu. Fucking finally. Now we can split input actions into different groups to make the key binding clearer and to introduce a whole new category of input actions like gestures. This gives you the ability to bind any emotes to any key of your choice, removing the dependencies function key, i.e., hard-coded gestures. The active binding is also available in the gesture radial menu, which has received many changes and is now less cluttered and easier to navigate. I will say, like, the UI for the options menu and the radial dial, it's just
It's
so
way better.
much nicer. It is so much goddamn nicer. And
And
I haven't been going on about it constantly for years, but something I always wanted is that I could use my the gestures on any key, and it's great that they're
so the
finally
F1s
doing
and
that.
stuff.
Then again, I don't
Yeah.
know, any other kind of emotes that I use apart from saying hello, put my hands up and F11, but the
Yeah.
option's there, which is great, which is
Yeah.
something that's really awesome.
I also love this because, as people who play on PC know, a lot of mods actually add their own categories. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see DayZ doing the same thing, not necessarily getting inspiration from them, but kind of going, hey, this actually looks like a better system. Um, and I think it will be cool because it'll make a lot more sense to people. My only suggestion is DayZ. Would it be cool for you guys to make subcategories for these controls?
Subcategories? What do you mean?
So like when you click on like combat, right?
Mhm.
There's like a subcategory beneath it. You can click on like vehicles or on foot kind of thing.
Oh, right. Okay. So, say for example, where it's like actually, I don't have an example. I had one.
I mean, it's something I'll probably do. I probably do with modding, right? But
Yes.
like you click on building fortifications, and in there's a peek through a peephole, like door actions
Yes.
versus window actions, right? But either way, that was off subject.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all right.
So one thing I want to talk about is I'm really happy with the new key bindings and all that stuff on PC.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they didn't tie this over to console as well.
Oh.
So there is currently
really?
no way for players on console to rebind any of their controls. They're stuck to the default DayZ layout. Now,
Right.
to some people that may not be an issue. I know a lot of people want that ability to change their things, and it's going back to what I was saying as well, where you're building your own experience because a lot of these people play differently. They have different play styles. They have different abilities with what they can do. So giving them the ability to change the layouts could be very, very good because I know a lot of people have been asking for it. A lot of people want
Yes.
it, and currently we just don't have the ability. And I think a lot of people would have rather had them do more stuff into the control scheme than just the sensitivity on its own because so many people want to rebind their stuff and they just don't have the option to. So I hope that maybe in a future patch for 1.18 or maybe 1.19 they try to incorporate something similar to console as well because I know for a fact it would be very, very well received to have proper binds.
Now, yeah, I could state that one of the things they said in Armor Reforger last Tuesday when we did it was a lot of the keybinds that we have controllable on PCs, we have an entire keyboard, and they were talking about the challenges they have giving players control over stuff with a controller. So what it could be, and mind you, I'm not defending them. I think they should give thing and let people mess up and default if they need to. Is that when you change your inputs on your controller, maybe changing one of your inputs might mess up a bunch of other things that are tied to different actions with it. So I think that might be one of the reasons why they're holding off, but I still think they should give players the option to purposely mess it up if they wish to.
Yes, definitely.
My only counter with that is they added it in Reforger. So they did actually add that in Reforger, so you can bind every single button, every single combination with your controller on the Reforger release, and it is working pretty well.
Yeah.
So
wait a minute. I have a rebuttal. It's my plane going down in flames into the ocean. Okay.
Objection. Jesus Christ! It's a fucking court case here. Jesus. Objection, hearsay.
Objection, hearsay.
Objection, lack of foundation.
No, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
No, I'm literally saying my whole theory there went into flames about the controller messing up everything because Armor Reforger did it. I'm making fun of myself going, oh shit, I opened my mouth too soon.
Oh, wait.
But yeah, so that just even gives even more of a reason for DayZ to try and do it because it's been put on Reforger. It's given them a test bed to try it out and see how it will work on console. And it's been so good. So many people have loved it. And so many people think it should be a thing on DayZ. So now they have that experience. They should take what they've learned and implement that somehow onto the console version as well.
Absolutely. They absolutely should do that. I mean, it's good that console's getting some love. But as King Juan said, what a surprise, console's forgotten again. I don't think it was a case of being forgotten. I think there might have been some issues in trying to translate it for DayZ, because obviously DayZ and Armor Reforger completely two different separate things, two different separate controller schemes and whatnot. So much more you can do in DayZ compared to Reforger. So, but I do hope that, with enough feedback, they go at it in a future update, 119 or 120. That'd be really great. But we'll have to see. It is a shame that you guys don't have it. But
And I'd encourage people to go to the feedback tracker and put that in, because I'm not sure if many people have actually written feedback. We've talked about this a while ago, but a lot of people will instead bring their discourse or any issues towards Twitter, and they'll at DayZ or put in the console or in the description and be like, we want controls on console, and it's not the most appropriate way to get a hold of them. So I'd recommend anybody who plays console and they want to get their point across to the developers to 100% go to the feedback tracker. And I'll even link the feedback tracker in the chat, so you guys will have that there.
As DayZ Hub said, they're definitely cracking down feedback recently. They actually have, and that's something we are actually going to be talking about later on in the podcast. But this last little thing here, Lemons, I want to hear your opinion about this, because some modders have actually said there's no point in builder items now, which is kind of a mixed bag, but we'll see. Last but certainly not least, this game update unlocks hundreds of static environment objects, so server owners can now customize their servers. We've also added new configuration options within the central economy system that allows for the spawning of collections of objects through dynamic events. This is something I've been waiting for a mod idea I want to publish on the workshop. More on that later. We've already implemented this system for one type of new event though. We'll let you figure out which one that is on your own. Oh, by the way, it's through the fucking trains. We hope you're going to have a fun with all these new tools, and we look forward to bumping into you during our regular Friday playtests.
If you could see me right now, I'm like one of the old. If anyone here watched Animaniacs back in the day, I've got my tongue out. I'm going like auga. My eyes are popping out. This was amazing.
I was surprised by this. I was so surprised by this. Yeah.
So many people have wanted it, and there was even a petition open that had over 900 signatures to bring builder items to console. So it has been so much needed. So many people have wanted it, and there's so much I could talk about. Like, I could go on about this for hours, and I did go on about it for hours in one of my VODs I covered.
Yes.
So
nice.
I do actually have DayZ open here, if I can share my screen, and I can show some tech demos off to the console community here. So here we go. Let me get the screen share open. But this is insane, guys. Yeah.
Actually, it does bring up an interesting subject, which will be kind of cool. With them putting out the all these items and stuff, Project Lemons, would you, as a console server owner and player, say that this makes you believe that BI listens to the console demands when they're actually logical?
100%. 100%. We're going to talk about that later with one of our other topics, but I have to agree 110% that they are definitely listening. It's been said they've done small things in the past that not a lot of people talk about, but they have been listening a lot to console recently, and I think a lot of it too is some of the people internally at DayZ are also console players themselves, so they experience this stuff and they know what it's like, so they have more of a heart for the console community. But what we have here is if anyone's familiar with this on PC, this is the Essiker Zoo. This is the Essiker Zoo, and what if I told you all of the assets here right now are going to be loaded onto console once 1.18 comes out?
Nice.
It's sick. I mean,
let me zoom in here. Yes. This is all going to be console. This is all going to be on console. And it's something I've been working on for a while, because I've been using the experimental mode to get this all going. It's still a bit of a fixer-upper. We have some things here that we're still working on patching up, but this will be a full one-to-one port of the Essiker Zoo on console edition, because originally it wasn't possible, and we've spoken about this before because we've had limited tools, we've had limited access to our assets, so we've had to compromise, and it's horrible because I had just finished making this with my own assets and my own versions, and the day after I finished, they decided to release this, and I was so heartbroken, but I was like, you know what, I've got to do it anyways, because it's going to fix performance a lot, because one of the biggest issues I had with making this with the other assets is there was a huge performance loss, because I would have to use hundreds of cement gates to make this staircase here. and having just the 3 here dropped my RTX 3070 from 120 frames to 40.
Get destroyed.
So
imagine what that would do on console.
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. How would it have performed on console? So I think having these assets, like all these staircases, all these walls, are going to be on console, and it's amazing. The one thing I noticed that was kind of weird though is they didn't add these in here. So let me just grab one of these real quick. Oh, it doesn't want to copy it, but these trees, these grass, and the different types of foliage, they didn't add in the files, which I find a little bit peculiar. Even more so because they gave us the proxies. So if we just go find a proxy real quick, they gave us the overgrowth proxies, which contain the vines and the ivy and the grass for some of the buildings within Livonia, but they didn't give us the singular items. So I'm not sure if they're going to fix that within a future update, but for anyone watching that does console development and they want to know a bit of a cheeky hack, you can still use these overgrowth proxies. And what you can do is if you have any blank space areas, like just an example right here, we can lower this down, and you won't be able to see this part on this part for my map at least, but we can lower this down and we can just have this corner of the proxy showing, which adds in all those vines there. So it doesn't. You don't see the rest of the house proxy, but we're reusing and it's this whole thing about on console about reutilizing assets. But I've taken a proxy that's meant for one of the Livonia buildings, and I've reutilized it to create a overgrown scene. And the same thing goes for grass. So if we go into if we find our grass proxy, we have they get. I don't know why they did this. I don't know why they honestly did this, but they gave us the grass proxies for the military blast covers and the blast shelter. So if we just grab one of these real quick,
yes,
you can see here that we have the proxy collection of all the grass. Now, a lot of people don't know about this on console, especially because it isn't out. But I think this might go over a lot of people's heads. But what we can do with this is we can overlay it, and just by simply changing the orientation, like let's just go through here, and we can change the Z orientation a little bit. We can use this to overlay patches of grass. Now, for people on PC, this may sound like, oh, putting grass on ground, that must be nothing. But now we can actually make overgrown Chinoris in Livonia. Well, Livonia already is kind of overgrown, but you can make an overgrown Chinoris on console.
I see.
Look at that. I like that.
This is the thing. It was like DOJ says use Blast Cover 2. I think it's the one with the flat surface on the top.
Which one?
Blast Cover 2.
Oh, the Blast Cover, yes. Let me see if that one's... Oh, that's the actual model. Let me see here. Blast Cover 2 grass.
The top should be flat.
It's mostly flat, yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly flat. Here, let me just remove this real quick. But it is mostly flat on the top, and what we can do, even if we wanted to utilize the side, is we can just go to the y-axis, change that, so now all that grass is exposed, and if we want to put down a road, we could just level that down and have it superimposed. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth with it, but this just shows you couldn't do this before, and this is going to be amazing for the console community. And it's going to be something that will completely change the way console maps are done. And I know Scale Speeder is going to have a hell of a kick out of this. He's going to be spending hours making new builds. But everything is in here.
It's funny
everything from builder items is in here.
Well, not everything, but quite a lot.
Sorry, not everything.
Yeah, exactly. Get your facts right.
But yeah. But the only things actually that they didn't add, to my knowledge at least, is they didn't add the rock assets. They did not add the trees or the grass, so general foliage. They did not add the water. So how on Essaker, these are all square tiles here.
Yes.
They didn't add these to console yet, and most importantly, they didn't add some key. What was it? Some of the key environmental objects that you have on builder items. So I know, like you were saying, some people thought builder items is obsolete now, but it's not completely obsolete. And I'm not sure if DayZ is going to fix this in a future patch and they're going to add these missing assets, which they very well might. But there's some things like that, or even the Ivy. We don't have the singular Ivy pieces like the builder
Oh,
items does.
yes,
So
yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so builder items isn't completely phased out yet. So I wouldn't recommend throwing builder items out yet.
I'd
But
recommend
we
using
are gonna
both.
have to wait and see.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
yes, exactly. And I've spoken to Dab, who, for people who don't know, he's the guy who put together this beautiful program I'm using right now.
Yeah.
And he said he's going to try and add in the ability to have static items prioritized over builder items. Because
Oh, right.
currently, yeah, so currently in the version of like 1.17, if you grab this and you control click it, you can duplicate it. But for people who are on console edition, if they ever try to do that, it'll source the builder items version of it. What he wants
Right.
to do is make it so that if you control click an asset, it'll grab the
The
land
static.
underscore asset instead. So, yes, the static asset instead, which means for console players, they can grab if they're on like a PC map and they want to grab, they're like, oh, this looks cool, let me grab this. It'll actually grab the builder items version. And I know for a lot of people that will be really, really powerful and a good tool,
Mm-hmm.
but it will just make things so much more streamlined because I know so many people on console who accidentally put down builder items by mistake, and then when they
Yes.
export all of their hours of work,
It
they're
didn't
like, "Where
work.
the hell is everything?"
Yeah.
And that it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. But now that we have all this stuff,
It's so much better.
so many things are going to change, but more so server owners are going to have to get ready to prepare themselves for this because this is going to change. This is going to revolutionize DayZ servers as a whole, not only for console but PC as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to add so many more tools to PC and make things more streamlined in the sense they won't require third-party mods for the most part.
Right.
Because, or even you won't need the DayZ editor loader anymore because you can use the JSON object file. Now you
Nice.
will still need it to delete buildings,
Yes.
but for PC servers, you can now utilize the JSON object file to spawn in your builder items. Well, quote unquote builder items.
Yeah. But it's
So
overall it's really really cool, and you do these kind of builds on your Twitch, don't you?
yes,
Right.
yes. So
And
I
there you
do
go.
stream all this. Little plug here, twitch.tv/Project Lemons DayZ. But
You know where you recently
we
put my
do.
face in a fucking skater. Yeah. Thanks.
Yep. If you guys want to see Lad's face superimposed on a skateboarder, that's where you can go. That's where you can go to see
It
that.
wasn't.
But
It wasn't even my idea. I was in bed. I was in bed. I was chilling, and I just thought, oh, like, I can't sleep. Let me to stream it. I'll check in. See him playing. Tony Hawk's Underground, whatever it is, and I'm like, hang on, that's my
and it's
fucking
just big.
face.
Yep, your big mop right plastered on there. But
Oh, mwah,
Get
great.
getting back
Thanks.
to getting back to topic a bit, guys.
Yes.
Here, I
Yes.
think so many people on console are gonna appreciate this, and the level and the detail of maps are going to honestly blur the line of some things we see on PC now.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying like it used to be a joke, oh console, it'll never be the same as PC, but
It's getting
I've
there.
been starting to say recently, little things like this are starting to blur the lines between PC and console. It is
Hmm.
really starting to blur the lines between PC and console. Like we even have some of the old ARM assets, or even the mod assets, like the ones where the players can get like the hung. Like if we go
Hmm.
here, we have the hanged civil and the hanged doctor. Now, unfortunately, I
But
can't
not there.
spawn it in right now to show you guys, but it's because of a bug that's already been addressed on the feedback tracker.
Right.
Because in the config file, now to give people a quick rundown of how it works,
Go for it.
there's a config file that links class names to each one of these assets. So how you guys can see this right here, like the static panel concrete 1,
Right.
the
Okay.
static panel concrete 2, and all that stuff, it's all linked to a class name in the configuration file. So what they have to do is they have to program a config file into each asset and link it to the file in game so that the game will see that and translate, oh, he wants to spawn one of these in. Like even if we hover over one of these, you can see in the bottom corner here, or like at the bottom where it says object, you can see it's wall underscore indic underscore 10 dot
Hmm.
p3d, and the p3d is the actual model file that it uses, the actual Bohemian model file. So now that we have these, they've added all these new assets that will be added and can be used actively now. So it's going to be really cool. Here, one
Yeah.
second.
And off he goes into the darkness. But no, overall, it's absolutely really, really fantastic that the console guys, even PC, is getting something like this. There are actually some stuff I noticed with the static and the new static objects that Builder Items doesn't have, and one of them is the it's one of the train models. It's like one of the train beds, which has got nothing on it.
Yes, I know this one.
Yes,
I've
been waiting for that. I've been really, really waiting for that. Does this mean that you could theoretically transform Chernarus into a sort of Namalsk?
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell people it's not as cut and dry as doing something like that. But we're at the end of the day, we're still left with the default terrains of Chernarus and Livonia. We don't have the ability to delete stuff yet, but as I've shown with my Zagoria project, I've been able to kind of superimpose new stuff onto it where it looks like you're getting a new map and a new experience. It'll always be the default terrain for now at least. For now at least, it'll always be the default terrain. But you can superimpose stuff on, and it's even better now. Like, we can even put decals down. So if I find like a road asset here, we can actually put roads down on console. So you can build whole towns now. It would have looked a little janky before. They would have looked a little janky because there was no road networks, there was no sidewalks. But you can actually put stuff like this, or even if I can find a dirt path here.
Give us the dirt path, boy.
Yeah, here, look at this. So we have the actual paths that were used in Livonia. So we can lay these down, put them wherever we want, and we can make organic-looking towns and cities, which may have looked a bit janky before. So we can get those wide open blank spaces on Chernarus and build whole cities, or even cities that already exist. We can update them, which is, like I said, something I did originally with my Zagoria mod, which we're going to be talking about in a bit. We're going to be talking a bit about that in a few, but it's just amazing. I think
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think once people start to talk about this stuff with the feedback tracker, they'll probably add any of the loose scraggler items like the foliage and the rocks, and I only hope they will.
Yes,
I mean, they will.
I think what they're trying to do is this time around with something like this is obviously they're getting the main feedback. They're seeing how well it's going to do, how much people are going to be utilizing, and then on Twitter or the feedback track, if people say like we would like to have the different rocks like the monolith rocks, like those kind of types of stuff, and more foliage and more like access to trees. I think that would be really cool. And as much as the builder items mod is been absolutely crucial for all custom mapping since modding began, I think it's about time that something like that is phased out for something that is completely supported by the team, as long as it's obviously parity with something like that or even better. Now, I've already said, and you showed off just before, is like some objects are as you can get in the stack that you can't get in builder items, which is great. So definitely leaning into that angle. I'm really interested to see what they do bring out next, but I'm more interested to see what people on console, especially. I mean, I don't have a console. The last console I had was probably an Xbox One. I had it for a few months, and I'm like, no, I'm good. My mum's got the PS4. She plays Red Dead Redemption 2. She's fine, but yeah. So I'm really interested to see what people on console can do. But I can imagine with this, I saw one of the topics of the agenda, you're delaying Zagoria because of it.
Yes, so that was something we were going to talk about, and I guess we can hit that off now. But unfortunately, some people have been following me. Some people have been seeing my stuff on Twitter and Twitch. Know that I've been working on the Zagoria map mod, which is a complete overhaul of Chernarus for console edition, which adds like new towns, new cities, new like completely new points of interest. And unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I am going to be delaying it. It was originally planned for early summer, so I was thinking early June as a release date. But now that they've given us these, it's always my luck, man. The second I do all this stuff and I want to release it, man, they give us this stuff. So because of that, I'm going to be going through everything that I've done up to this point and I'm going to remake pretty much 100% of my assets using all of this stuff, because a lot of the stuff that I've done before, I had to jimmy rig using hundreds of
Yes.
assets, which looks a bit janky in some parts, but it also affects performance very negatively. So what I'm going to do to save a lot of performance and just make things look nicer is I'm going to be going through and redoing everything in Zagoria with the new asset overhaul that we have in 1.18. So I don't think it'll take too long because I've got everything kind of planned out already how I'm going to do it. So if anything, I could see it being released maybe late August instead. So mid to late August might be, so maybe like 1.5, 2 months total, like as instead of having it in June. So it's not going to be a big pushback, but I want to do this because I can give players a much better experience if I use these new tools. So I think that's where I'm coming from, and hopefully, I know, knowing my luck after I've said this, so knock on wood, once I finish this, they're gonna release a whole new pack of brand new stuff, and then they're gonna keep doing it, keep doing it. So
Fingers
I
crossed
hope,
they do. Fingers crossed they do,
fingers
because
crossed, fingers crossed. And
it's
I did say
something
this as
that's
well. Yeah, with my when I first started Zagoria, I told people that once it was released, I'm not going to stop development completely, and I was going to release 4 content expansions for the map. But what I was going to do as well is I made a promise that I would continually update it to stay with the new framework of DayZ. So whenever they added new features, new mechanics, new buildings,
you'd immediately
I
adopt
would
them.
yes, I would
Yeah.
immediately adapt that into my map. So I'm staying true to my word, and I'm going through and I'm slowly making the painful process of changing everything to the 1.18 assets.
Good
But it has
luck.
started. Yeah, yeah. It has started though. For those wondering, we've already started. So I've already jumped headfirst in using the experimental editor. So we could see a release date even sooner. So I'd say
Fingers
play it by
crossed. Yeah.
ear. Yes, exactly. Fingers crossed, and I'm gonna be very open about this stuff on my Twitter. So I'd say if you guys want to keep up to date with anything regarding release date, updates, any of that stuff, it will all be put on my Twitter mainly. So
Yeah, plug your Twitter in the chat. Forrest Gump
yeah.
says, so I haven't looked at the new file closely yet, but can we just set the directory for the map object JSON now, like we do in the init with separate files?
Let me read this.
Yes.
Directory for the map object JSON now, like we do. Could you possibly elaborate a bit on that?
And when Lemon says asset overhaul, it means that he's had to use a lot of in 117 he had to use a lot of the assets that were available then with the land stuff and whatnot, and he's had to improvise massively with quite a lot
I can
of
actually
that.
show the example here.
Yeah, like for
I'll
example.
open the old save. I'll open the old save here from the original Esker Zoo. So this is the new version for 1.18, but I'll show you my original Esker Zoo that uses the old assets, and we'll take a look, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here by brand new stuff and asset overhaul, because it really is. I just hope it will actually load. This is another example. This is another example of why. Oh, DayZ's not responding. Hold on, let's give it a second. But this is a prime example here why I'm so happy to see these new features. All right, here we go. Here we go. So this was, you can see there's some crazy stuff going on here, but it was made for a deathmatch server, so we had to compensate and add more deathmatch features. But
restart the stream because it's just buffering on our end.
Oh, okay.
Also,
yeah, here, 1 second then.
Lemons, I believe that the Forrest Gump is talking about the old way of loading in custom map objects for building was through the init.c, called in .c files, essentially through the init.c.
Oh, yes. So now you won't have to use init.c. If you want to call in custom objects, it will be done 100% through the new JSON object loader. So, here, do you guys see the screen now?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So this was what I just finished. This is what I literally just finished making, and it was the original port for Essiker. Now I've deleted some of the stairs here because I was testing out some of the new features before I thought I was just gonna redo everything from scratch. But let's look at these stairs. These stairs right here, are the bane of my existence. They cost me my sanity. And if we just look here, let's pull one of these out. Look what it is. Look what it is.
It's a gate.
Yep.
And this is what he means.
It's a gate.
So he's had to jerry rig a lot of the assets to create the intended thing. However, with the new static objects, he can actually use the proper models that he wants to use. Like, so instead of using like a million gates with like this.
So look at this.
concrete
All these white dots. All these white dots here, guys, are gates that I've
objects.
placed.
Yeah.
So in the new version, there's only 4 dots here. I've only had to use 4 staircase models, which
Performance
reduced
wise.
so many performance issues. So before, I was saying that this wouldn't work on last gen consoles, but now with these new things, it could very well be well working on both platforms, both next gen and last gen.
Yeah.
But like, look at all these dots here. Look at how cursed this looks.
DOJ was
I'm
saying.
gonna show you something.
DOJ was just said, and people were complaining about expansion mapping performances. How the fuck does this run on console?
Very slowly.
Yeah. Well, it runs well on Series X. I'll tell you what. I did a benchmark test, and this runs decent on Series X. Not a way in hell this is going to work on last gen in its current state, like this version. It would crash because I've got both consoles. I got this Series X and the original 2013 pre-order that I like to use for benchmarking.
Yes.
And the original one wouldn't even launch into the game. It would actually crash my DayZ on console. I'd have to close out of it.
Well, there you go. There you go. So but, overall, the static stuff. Sorry, go on, Dom. I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna add one final thing to it. I'll do it after you say your thing.
I was just going to say, so this overall, with the addition of the static stuff, will increase the performance of custom-made objects on both PC and console, which is great. I mean, and that is if you do be swimming though, but you know, so it's so it's going to be really, really cool that you have this kind of these kind of tools at your hand now. And I can imagine like the possibilities that console owners and server owners will be able to do that point on.
Yeah, I want to show you guys something cursed here. I do. Before we go on to the next subject.
Before you do, I want to hear what Dump wants to say.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Lemons, can you do an experiment for me? And maybe we can talk about this next week. Can you place a bunch of builder items from Builder Items mod itself and a bunch of the same static version of the items? And can you tell me if there's any FPS difference? Because the way you explained how static items are being registered and used is very, very different than core class config CVP structure we know of. So I'm curious if the static classes that you're putting in actually are more performance easy than builder items itself.
I'd imagine they might be, because it's also the way the game interprets it. Because once I think these ones are handled differently in regards to rendering. So once it gets out of a certain zone, I think it will completely call it out. Whereas some of the builder items, I think, don't despawn or unrender. So that could be a big difference with performance with that, especially. So.
Right. Brilliant.
Nice.
But we can do that later. I might stream that. So.
Oh, there you go. If you want to check that out, check out his Twitch channel. It's already been posted in the chat before. B asks, is it going to be a community server? Like, I don't need to download anything to my Xbox to play it.
That is the beauty of this. With the object spawner, with the new assets, this will be 100% within the game file. So there will be no external workshop, no external downloads. All you have to do is click play, and you're in the action instantly, which is amazing. Because for a lot of the mods on PC that use builder items, you have to install all their builds. You have to install like the workshop add-on that has their builds for some of it. But with the object spawner, it's all handled through the game. So server owners on both PC and console will no longer have to worry about exporting it, making a mod, packing a mod, and putting it on the Steam Workshop. All they have to do is go, like, they can all use editor now, because it has a feature built in for the object spawner. So if we go over here, we go to File, Export, and right at the bottom, we have an export to object spawner, and we even have an export to map group pause. So we can have our stuff spawning, and we can have loot spawning at that stuff as well.
Right.
So it's huge.
Very, very cool.
Oh, yeah, but a bit of a curse thing here. We can see the underbelly
This is
of
hell.
my build. This looks like it came from a Tim Burton movie, but these for my floors and my roofs. I had to use the ruined bus stop because they, for some reason, I don't know why, they actually textured the bottom of the bus stop. And usually, knowing DayZ, a lot of the stuff that has a bottom side doesn't usually get textured, just to save on memory and performance. But they did it for this for whatever reason. So now I was like, this is the perfect asset, and I use this. But if you look inside, players can't see this, of course. But if you look inside, this looks like pure machine hell. You have all these torn up spikes. This looks
It's
like the back rooms.
no. Trust us, I know what the back rooms are. Oh.
Look at this. Like it's so nice and peaceful and serene on the outside, and you go inside, and this is what it
Chaos.
looks like when you get banned by DayZ Console Edition. This is where you go.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is where you
that's
go.
funny. So this is really cool and everything. I'm really happy to see all this. But moving on.
Moving on. Yes. So, the future of DayZ console servers post 118. We've kind of touched about this with just what we've been discussing a little bit, but since this was your topic on the agenda, I want you to elaborate a little bit more about it. So, what do you mean by this topic?
So we touched upon this briefly when I was talking in earlier, and I said this on one of my streams, but this is going to change. This is going to be a very crucial and very critical turning point for Console Edition. This is going to change the way servers are made. It's going to change the way people play servers, and it's going to change the entire groundwork and the direction that DayZ Console Edition was going. Server owners will have to completely remodel their servers because this is going to be a thing where if you're not doing this, your server may lose a lot of its population for one that is doing this. And this happens every update. I know a lot of people who play console can vouch for the fact that this happens, but whenever they add a new feature, every console server races to have that in. Like when we added infinite stamina or when we had the build anywhere mod, everyone races to be that first person to have it, so they get that population, they get everyone pulled in. And unfortunately, a lot of servers get very, very competitive with each other, and it can be very negative sometimes the way they get competitive. Yes. So I'm giving a fair warning to console server owners who are watching this. This will be something you need to get behind because you need to conform to this because unfortunately this is going to be something that will make it or break it for a lot of servers' populations unless you have a population that is dedicated to your server, to you, which a lot of people do have now. But for servers who are trying to build themselves up and get that population, you need to get ready to learn these new tools because this will be a brand new generation for DayZ Console Edition, and this will ultimately be one of the best years for the console platform as well because of all this stuff. This will make new game modes, new maps, and it seems weird because you're like game modes. I thought it's a programming thing, but on console we make game modes still, like Conquest. Conquest is a full Arma-inspired game mode that does not use a single programmable add-on. It does not use a single programmable add-on, but it has rules in place to make you feel like you're playing the game mode. But it uses all that through the object spawner. And Conquest specifically, I'm already like interpreting, like I'm already thinking it now. It's going to blow up this year with all the new military assets. They'll be able to make military bases. They'll be able to make outposts. There's new tank assets they can use, sandbags, the Hesco box, actual filled ones. So they are going to explode this year because they will make, if they do this the way I think they're going to, they are going to remodel Chernarus and make it into a true Arma experience for the people that want to experience the Conquest servers. And I know Chernarus is based off the Arma 2 map, but it's just really cashing in, or not necessarily cashing in, but utilizing these assets to make that kind of war-torn aspect. So I think servers that have, or even roleplay servers like Role Players Oasis on console, they are amazing people behind that. The programmers are amazing, and they make so many things thinking outside the box. And I can only imagine the great things they're going to do once this releases to stable, because
Mm-hmm.
this all these servers that do this stuff, it's going to be revolutionary. And I know these are all big words that I'm using, like saying this is going to be the year for DayZ Console Edition. This is going to change the framework, but I'm not kidding.
Well,
This will
see,
be
those are
a game
bold
changer.
words, boy. Those are bold words. But see, that's
Yep.
it. It's like editions like these. Yeah, sure, it's experimental. A lot of stuff is up in the air. We might not see some things. We might see more things. We just don't know. But you are right, and it not only applies to console, but it definitely applies to PC. Since obviously there's some things that aren't in build items that are in the statics. So I'm really interested to see what people can come up with. Absolutely. And that's the thing, when you're a server owner, and if you do a server say like Generis, and I can only assume it's the same on console, you do need to be unique. You need to be able to pull in the players. And yeah, sure, you can use paid mods, which I have my own views, and Dump, I'm pretty sure you do as well, but we won't go into that because that'll end up turning this podcast into about a 24-hour one, and I'm not doing that again. So but there's just so much potential, even more so now, for what people can do, and for more people to really express their creativity and the skills to create the ideas that they have in their mind. And you're
And like
talking
DayZ
about.
Huff's saying here, he said he feels like RP servers are going to start to flourish,
I
and
really
I
hope
totally
so.
agree with that.
I really hope so, and I'll be the
Because
first one to
unfortunately,
admit.
yep. No, go ahead.
I was going to say I'll be the first one to admit I got involved in the DayZ community properly back in August 2016. A few months after I got the game, and I actually used to play in DayZ RP religiously back then. Every single day I was on it, playing, role-playing with people. It was one of those sad sacks of shits, right? And it was just like, oh my god, it's my life. And it got us through a lot, but obviously it died down. And ever since modding came out, I've never really gotten back into that. And it's still a viable way to play the game. It's every single different play style, every single kind of community. So it's like, you know what? Bring it on. More stuff that can bring out the creativity, not only server owners and modders, but players. And that is the main thing that needs to get a lot more focus on. It's great. It is absolutely
And we've seen the records get broken with 1.17. So I can only imagine what's going to happen once 1.18 drops, not only for PC, but for console edition. I feel like this will be one of the highest years for server population. And I think this is going to change a lot because, as most people know on console, most servers are very PvP oriented. You have servers with boosted loot, increased military items, and it's more so people on console play the console version of DayZ for that kind of deathmatch PUBG styled gameplay. But they're missing the core aspects of what DayZ truly was, and it kind of misses the mark. But what I think is that with these new things, we're going to see more Conquest servers come up. We're going to see more Oasis servers come up, and it's going to pivot what truly is DayZ console servers, because there's such a stigma right now for just times 100 boosted loot. Everything's crazy. Everything's insane on console. I feel like this is going to change the future for the game, and it's going to on console, and it's going to change the type of servers that will be available, because so many server owners have had to shut down their servers because they just can't perform with deathmatch servers and PvP servers and 100 times servers. But I think that with this new stuff, these poor owners and these owners that just haven't had the support, haven't had the player base, will flourish, because there will be so many people coming to see builder items, to see new assets, to see these roleplay servers that can truly become their own IPs and their own maps with these new features. So this is going to be the year for console edition, folks. If any year, this is going to be the year for console.
I really do hope so. I really do hope so, because that's the main thing. That is the main thing. And I just got a tweet, a direct message from somebody. Sorry to completely deviate, but it's something I do want to address a little bit. It's been kind of on my mind a little bit. So this person said, "Hi mates, just wondering if you had any plans to update Spotify with the new episodes of the podcasts. It's always good to be able to download them and listen to work. Keep up the good work. Cheers." I've not been able to think too much about it. Boydie and I were still in the process of trying to work out a good workflow to get our episodes back in the main line, as we're done with episodes 1 to 102. Want to try and get that sorted out. Obviously, there's a massive time difference. I work practically full time, so it's very difficult. But I do intend to get everything back up to parity. That includes Spotify and hopefully multi-streaming, but streaming on YouTube only has been quite beneficial for the podcast, so that we'll see how that goes. But, you know, there's still a lot of stuff that we are planning, but I just wanted to quickly address that while I got that DM. If that person... I do want to try and pronounce your username, but I'm not going to because I don't want to embarrass myself too much. But if you are watching, there's your answer. But I will DM you in Twitter. Back to the normal topics.
Yep. So to answer some questions in chat, we've had a bit of a build up in chat here with a few questions what we were talking about.
Yes, go for
it. But Omnia here said PvP oriented. We KOS every time, which is very true. There's no ask questions first. It's always shoot first, ask questions later on console. There's never any talking with people because you always see the PC videos of people who are talking and they have that role play. But no, on console you walk up to a guy and if they have a gun, you're dead. You are 100% there, dropping you right.
I'd just like to point out that pretty much is like only like 2% of the interactions.
Yeah, but it's still fun. It's just like, I'm going to take your loot forcibly. But yes.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's just a lot more amplified on console. And we miss that sort of RP aspect that you get a lot more when you're playing PC servers. And once again, it comes down to the server. It comes down to how they have it set up. But I think that will change a lot with this update. Hugh here said he's been playing Role Players Oasis for 2 years now, and it's arms and lengths better than most servers, not just because of the modding and creativity, but the community as a whole, and I really do have to agree with you there, Q. They have put together such an amazing thing, and they've got so many wonderful people working there, talented developers, and I give them all the support and all the love I possibly could.
Same here.
This whole KOS thing, though, does bring up an interesting point that I think people should better understand. If you don't like that kind of play style and you don't like being KOS'd all the time or whatever else, but yet you still play on those servers, you're helping contribute to that kind of server being successful while other servers like Lemon Sake die off. Play on the servers that are having trouble and struggling. And if enough of you people actually like your interactions in RP as well as even organic RP, start playing on those kind of servers instead of the KOS servers, you'll see a shift in the community overall rather than focusing only on the KOS servers. Just because it has a high pop doesn't mean it's a good server.
Well, yes, absolutely. And that's unfortunately the case with a lot of servers on Xbox. And I don't want to say names or anything because I do support a lot of the people in console, and I always encourage people to make their own servers and experiment and just jump into the deep end, and see it happen. But there's a lot of times where there's just some. Are you okay?
I just read Liquor with Lunch's comment. I'm so sorry. It's the willingness to play along with the RP, but sometimes it gets wacky. I'm a pirate from the prison island that plunders chests and steals shoes for my foot fetish.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it ties into the whole thing where you kind of need to find that gray area. You need to get that fine line between role playing KOS because we don't want these pirate Pete's that want to have their shoes for their foot fetishes. We don't want to have those people too much. So it's finding that gray area. Finding that nice middle ground.
Yeah.
And like DayZ Hub said, unless you're on an RP server on console, you are not getting any sort of interaction whatsoever with players. They just don't want to talk to you. If they have an option to start punching, even freshies, if you guys are freshies, and usually you would walk up to them, wave your hand, and say hello, they will start wailing on your ass to get your freshie fruit, get your bandages, and they just don't care about you. They don't care about you. They just see you as a walking chest full of loot.
See, that's the thing. It's like it's like a table or diagram, whatever. It's like you never trust a freshie, right? And you never trust a fully geared player, right? But there's a sweet spot where it's like, okay, maybe I can trust you. Maybe I can do that. Because if you go into town, you got some decent gear, and you come up with freshie, there's not many people, but it's like, okay, yeah, here's some food. Oh, cheers, mate, can I run with you? Yeah, okay, go for it. And you have a wonderful time. They might end up shooting you in the back when you're cooking something, but hey, at least it was an interesting experience.
But it's the experience, it's the experience.
But if you're fully kitted out to the fucking teeth, and you go to a freshie, and they have nothing but an apple and some rags, they're gonna try and beat the shit out of you.
Most dangerous person on the server is a freshie.
Yes. Yeah. No wonder they get shot all the time.
The issue is, the root of this problem is all the boosted loot servers, because on that note, it's so easy to get geared on console edition with a lot of community servers, because they have times 5 loot, times 10 loot, or even times 100 loot, which is just ridiculous,
Yeah.
And there's some of these servers are trying to market themselves as a vanilla plus server. And it makes no sense whatsoever, because I guess vanilla plus is subjective, it's each their own. But if I go on a server where I can walk into a house and get a M4 in a tier 1 zone, that is not a vanilla plus server.
No, that's an easy
that's
server.
That's up to criticism as well. But I think if I can pull out my entire kit in a matter of 5 minutes, I don't think that should be called a vanilla plus server.
I don't know. It's a plus in my experience,
It comes back to the community controls what kind of servers they support. Mm-hmm. So if the community supports that kind of server, that's why those servers still exist. But again, stop joining high-pop servers. They're not always good.
Well, that's it, yeah.
And that's why with 1.18, we might see a change and an influx of these different, unique, and creative servers getting their population, Mm-hmm. This will be the chance for these smaller servers on Xbox to flourish. And I hope that this happens, because there's so many good ideas and so many amazing things that are getting overshadowed by servers that have like an entire military base spawning in Cami, and you walk into it and you get like a bazooka, or there'll be servers that have it. Yeah, but there are even servers where you will spawn. They call us a quote unquote traitor, but they have you spawn at a hunting store, and there's guns on the walls. There's guns scattered all on the walls. There's magazines and grenades and plate carriers, and you spawn right next to it. And what they do, they're very smart. They try to market new players and say that they have the rocket launcher and they have the M249 stock, because they do, but they have the broken weapons from .62 spawning in that will crash your game, and they use that as an excuse to advertise it. And then that's how they get to high pop. Yes. And I've seen a lot of servers do that recently, even though none of the weapons work. Then they get an influx of people going there to try it out, because they have that flutter of hope. They're like, new weapons? And then they get their heart shattered when their game crashes trying to pick up like the taser gun or the blow dart gun,
Yes.
Yeah.
And is verifiable to crash in both versions. So yeah, it is a pain in the ass overall. I mean, it all has its place. It's a bit of a weird take, but it all has its place, and it all comes down to at the end of the day.
And like Scalespear says here too, boosted loot servers are paying for them though. They're pumping money back into the game via Nitrado, and that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean by it all has its place, and it's something I would love to talk at length. Definitely in the future.
We need to have like a special for that, but because we could really go on for this for hours, and even what DayZ Hub said here, the amount of corrupt servers on console that are still up purely because there's nowhere else to play is insane. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I want to leave it off, and I want people to think about that, because that is you need to really just take a second and sit down and think about that, because that is what's going on. Mm-hmm. You're being forced to play on some of these servers because there's just no other options you want to play. You don't want to play official, but you want to play community, and because there's no one trying to break the mold, you're just playing on the same stuff and recycling and continuing this spiral. We're not going to get anywhere unless we make the change ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
So I'd say I want to leave it there. I think that's the best point to leave it. And I think just think about it. I don't expect you guys to have to adapt that mindset, but just think about the different angles within the community.
Well, that's it.
I think it could change your outlook. It could change your outlook.
Speaking about outlooks, this is a terrible segue, but Arma Reforger has now been released, and with it, it comes with a load of new tools, and one of them is the Enfusion workshop. Now, we do kind of want to discuss this a little bit. If DayZ had its own integrated workshop, like Enfusion does and Arma Reforger does, would it actually be beneficial? Yes, it would be. No, I hope they don't do it. I don't think DayZ should be ported to a full Enfusion at all, at least not yet. And that includes the workshop. I've played Reforger quite a bit the past few days, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have as well. And whereas, was said, yes, it's early access, which is great. It gives you a good idea of what could be coming in the future. I am not satisfied with... Well, I say that, I'm not satisfied. I'm happy. But when people saying, we should get DayZ to full Enfusion, we should have it like now or something like that. No. I think it would absolutely set everything back to what it was like in 1.0. I think if Bohemia decides DayZ should get ported to full Enfusion, it's going to take another 2 years, at least. Because, and this is slightly deviating from the workshop bit, but I do want to emphasize on this first. So there's a massive step which you have to do to port stuff from DayZ into Enfusion, right? And there's a new texturing, a new way to texture your objects. And sure, you can convert your specular gloss to metallic roughness. That's no problem at all. Then you can go on through that. But it all comes like different steps of learning, complete the new tools. And this is the modder side. But with Enfusion, stuff is a lot more detailed. And as Dump and I, we went through last night. There's some objects which just one material is 97,000 vertices. That's over 3 times the limit DayZ supports. So people have to go back and redo their stuff. And same with DayZ assets. There's quite a few stuff from DayZ that are in Arma Reforger, but they're redone from scratch. If it ever does get redone, it's going to take at least a minimum 2 years, if that. That is if
for anybody that's played back in the 0.62 days, they know the struggle of changing engines.
Please don't change it again unless it's ready. Please.
Because we lost so many weapons. Imagine if we had to lose all that again and have them re-add that. I just don't think, considering everything they're doing now, I don't think they would take that fall again. I don't think they would take that fall again.
Wouldn't survive.
It absolutely wouldn't. But in terms of the workshop, because Dump, you have delved into the tools more than I have, I want to hear your opinion on it, because I think you might have a different take on it. I'm not too sure on the workshop side especially. What do you think, mate?
So, I agree with Lad, and then I don't agree with Lad. Now, I agree with Lad. DayZ is not ready for Enfusion because Enfusion isn't ready for DayZ. Everything we love about DayZ would be gone. It has no survival mechanics. It has nothing. Literally, Enfusion is not ready for a survival game. And it's very clear with Arma Reforger. But hopefully when Arma 4 is coming out, it will be. That being said, having the ability to upload my mods to a fully controlled Bohemia Interactive workshop area and off of Steam, completely controlled by them, monitored by them, enforced by them, would make my experience as a modder 100 times easier. And I say this because, and I'm not going to get into it, but Steam is broken with its workshop. And it's broken from major flaws. And having BI being able to control some of the things would be a lot more helpful to us modders. I know Vlad wants to say something before I go on.
Steam's workshop is fucking shit.
Yeah, he's talking about this. And I'm just going to go on to a really quick segue. One of my friends, who was a modder, had the Steam Workshop's failures hit him hard. He actually had to pay legal fees to fight to prove he made his mods from a person who was illegally repacking his mods. Bohemia Interactive couldn't do anything against it, and he had to pay a lawyer to get back the proof that he had made his own mods, which is why he's taking them down. But on a officially Bohemia Interactive supported launcher and stuff, Bohemia Interactive could have helped stop this issue. and made it a lot easier for him to actually fight back without legal fees.
And that's it. And I mean, don't get us wrong. I feel like the idea of having a like what Enfusion, Armor Reforger have is very, very beneficial. I just think that there needs to be a lot more time for something like that to be developed for DayZ because of the way that it's implemented. Yes, exactly. I mean, if you try to do that with the way DayZ functions now, I don't think it would work. There's just not really a way to do that. So I think once it's developed more, or DayZ does in fact get ported completely in a long time, then maybe definitely.
Yeah.
But
one big thing as well is like the DayZ Hub said, was that if they were to do this, if they were to port Enfusion, theoretically, that would phase out last gen consoles altogether. I gave Enfusion a go. I played on the Series X, and I was barely pushing 40 frames on the new Series X console. That was very alarming. And like you were saying, the assets are just so much higher now with their vertices, and I was struggling on a Series X to run it. So that if they were to change it all to Enfusion, last gen would not be able to play anymore, and that's this is a big number, but I think that's like 60% of the current Xbox players are still last gen. So if they were to do that, DayZ would lose a majority of its console audience, and they would be either forced to stop playing or upgrade to the Series X. And not everyone is in a financial situation right now where they could do that.
And I know there's the run joke where it's just like, oh, just buy a PC, but not everybody has that option, and especially with Enfusion using a certain version upwards of DirectX 12. I was in the DayZ the Enfusion modders Discord, as it's been relabeled as, and somebody was struggling to launch Enfusion. They had a DirectX 12 compatible card, and they couldn't get it up. It kept saying that the engine couldn't be found. It was really weird. And then it turns out he has DirectX 12, but an old version of it. His card doesn't support anymore. And even so now if this guy wants to play it, he's going to have to fork out God knows how much for a fully compatible graphics card. Which way, as we all know these days, is just ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say how they shouldn't do it, because I do think that in order to progress anything, obviously you need to improve on what you have, and trial and error and stuff like that. Yeah, so I do hope that systems do improve and compatibility gets better, but at some points we do have to accept that some things have to be phased out. And heck, there's a lot of people that say that DayZ should be ported in full Enfusion. We don't even know that's ever going to happen yet. I mean, it might just stick to what we have right now, and we're just going to have to put up with it and wait for, I don't know, DayZ 2, if that's ever going to be a thing, which, by the way...
Yeah, that's my opinion. We have a higher chance of getting DayZ 2 before we do a port. New engine.
The RV Enfusion hybrid, although it's old, is still trusty. Like, don't get me wrong, it is dated in some aspects, but it's a very solid engine, the RV hybrid. I still think it's a very solid engine. If they were to work on we've spoken about this before, but I've always said that if you have a broken structure and you build something on that, it's going to crumble eventually. But if you have a solid foundation to work on and you build upon that, that house will stay there forever. And I think that the RV hybrid, although there are some bugs with DayZ, in of itself is a very, very solid engine. Yes. That it's been purified over the years, and it's been
just to
worked
answer Scalespeeder real quick. I don't think any of us here are saying a internal workshop is a bad idea. I think we're saying that DayZ is not Enfusion is not ready to support what DayZ already is.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Don't get us wrong. Sorry to slightly deviate, but it is a very important clarification that we need to make. No, we do absolutely. It would be really, really cool if DayZ does eventually have something like that. We just feel like it's not ready for something like that quite as of yet. There needs to be a lot more stuff done to make DayZ compatible with something like that. And heck, if they ever turns out in the future that they can get a similar system with the exact same system that Armor Reforger have, especially cross compatibility for mods, that would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic. Whether we think it's going to happen anytime soon, definitely not. maybe in the future, but I'm not too sure. It could be unlikely.
Yeah.
But yes.
One big issue too that I'd like to highlight as well, is specifically for the workshop, is it's working on Armor Reforger. You can make stuff on PC and it'll get ported to console and work. But Reforger was made using the new Series X technology, which is very similar to the specs and hardware that you have with the PC. When Bohemia originally released DayZ to the original Xbox, hardware and specs and software was a lot different, so they had to make a full port of DayZ to console edition, which means things are scripted differently. Things are done a lot differently, which means mods may not work if they are made on the PC version of DayZ and imported to Xbox. And no one's really thought about that yet. So what if people tried to make all these mods and stuff ported to Xbox and it doesn't work? Because we've seen it before. Even as an example with experimental, there are things that don't work on the experimental branch of Xbox that work fine on PC. So there's clearly a different programming, which is evident because it had to be ported, but it's just not the same as the new title like Enfusion, which is very streamlined between the two platforms. There is a big difference between the platform Xbox One and the PC one, and if they wanted to remake it, they would have to release pretty much a brand new thing from the foundation up, which I don't think would be proper, and it wouldn't be a good use of their assets or their resources. So I think their best bet now would just be able to work with the stuff they have now, and they may have to do some sketchy things like some stuff back end, but there could be a way for them to make it that it would work. But I think in its current state, if you were to try and put a PC model into Xbox, even if we had the Enfusion Workshop, I don't think it would work too well. I don't think it would work too well at all. But don't get me wrong, I want that. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like saying we shouldn't have modding on Xbox, because if you've ever watched my streams or if you've ever heard stuff I've said in the past, I have begged for DayZ to add modding to it. I have been on like hand and knee with my hands together in prayer asking for them to add modding. So it's not that I don't want it, but it's just I'm just saying every outcome right now, and this may be very well why they haven't incorporated it yet. So it's just it's my 2 cents.
Well, it makes a lot of sense.
Gives you a different thinking. It gives you a different way to think about it. So for people on console who are like, why isn't there modding? Why haven't we gone modding yet? DayZ's forgotten about this. This gives you something to think about.
Well, that's it. Yep, exactly. But it's overall, it's a really, really interesting path that we as people could witness going down. But
DayZ 2042.
But yeah.
That's funny.
Well, and Fabian King, with this new update in 1.18, you will get that. Well, get a lot of that. But moving on.
But moving on, yes.
In the worst segue possible. I went up glad.
So, moving on though, with 1.18, there was a lot of stuff that was introduced. There was a lot of mechanics introduced, and one thing that we were going to talk about specifically was the change to the positioning of weapons on players.
Which is really weird, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, Lad, Dumpgrahs, what do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts on them changing the way it's been after so long?
Lad already opened his mouth. I want to hear it.
It's a problem that they have that they will never fix at all. Now, I like it, but I don't. Yes, sure, it was absolutely crap that the magazines of your guns they would end up clipping into your body, into your arms, and it was very fucking annoying. And I can understand why they've done specifically this. And I think it's just because I don't like change in certain aspects. But I'm not too impressed. Not completely. It probably takes some time for us to get used to it, which is, it's one of those things. But it's... I don't know. I just
Yeah.
it's a weird change. I don't think they'll ever change it back because apparently I think somebody said this is similar to how they've got it in Reforger. I'm not too sure. I'd never use third person or anything like that. But yeah, it's interesting. It does look wrong, Zizen. It just feels wrong. But I think, to be fair, for many, 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 many years, we've had it the way that we used to. So it's like unnatural.
Readjusting to it.
Yeah.
Now, Dumpgrah, I'm not sure if you have a different opinion than Lad, or if you think he was kind of on the same page there. But what are your thoughts? What do you think about the change to this? Because this is, like Lad was saying, very weird. Very, very weird.
It's all about clipping, right?
Mm.
When I look at this picture that you guys have on Reddit, all I see is clipping. It looks just as bad as like going through the arm. However, I will state, BI, just please put in the no clipping thing you did with hair and hats. Just be a little bit smarter about it.
Be a bit harder
Where
for
it
something
hides.
like this.
Yeah, I know, but maybe a little bit of effort. Maybe you can maybe polish it up a little bit.
Now,
Obviously, they're wearing a
players,
hunter jacket, known as one of the biggest clothing items in the game. So almost anything you wear with that looks like you clip through it. So maybe this picture is just deceptive. Maybe the majority of clothing looks really good with this.
yeah.
Being a person that's a big fan of hardcore, I think it looks silly.
Now, a
I
quick
could
thing to cut in real
justify
quick for you, Dumpgrah.
no.
For new players, oh no, for just as a quick thing for new players or players on console, could you possibly explain what you meant by the hair clipping mechanics?
Yeah, so back in like I think all the way up until like 1.12, we had it so when you put beanies on, hats on, you had your hair clipping through the hat, right? Well, now when you put a hat on, you don't see your hair clipping through it, and that's what I call no clipping. It's a functionality you can add to stuff. They've actually introduced that into more clothing options. And what I'm saying is guns could easily benefit from the same thing. And what it does is where you see if you see the AK in that picture, how where the handguard goes, if there was a handguard on it, it would technically be hiding the shirt underneath it. It would not show the model through the proxy. And that's what no clipping does.
Okay,
That
I just
cleared
thought
up?
it would be good too. Yeah, I just
Mhm.
thought it'd be good because some
Yeah.
people who maybe don't have an understanding of modding might benefit a bit from that. But
Onto my previous rant. I'm kidding. The old system was nice because you could justify, hey, I had my magazine under my armpit, and that's how I was kind of holding it as I ran with holding something so it didn't jiggle too much. But this system right here, I don't know how the person's holding it on their back. And like I said, I'm more of a hardcore kind of player. So, um, it looks silly to me. I think there should be a sling or something, but that would require finding a new item, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I don't think the system is beneficial to the immersiveness of the game.
okay,
Mm. No, it's I don't
one
know.
thing
The
that stood out
backpack
to
look
me,
doesn't look
and
that bad.
I don't understood why they didn't do this, but as everyone knows, with the longer weapons, when you sit in a vehicle, they clip through the roof. So why didn't they flip some of those weapons upside down with this new update? Because it's been both PC and console have been saying this. We've made it clear this is an issue, and I'm surprised that with the chance to actually change this, they didn't change that as well. What do you guys think about that?
Uh,
Is it
That
that
is
comes
it
to
a
is
proxy
gameplay restraint?
placement.
that's actually quite an interesting. Yeah, I mean it all comes down to the proxies at the end of the day because all the weapons share roughly the same proxy. So they have to make sure that it all aligns correctly, which is why when you have like custom base building mods that has objects that you can attach stuff to, they'll use the same proxy, but different like config classes for it, so they can have like a ton of them, or well, not config classes but attachment points. But yeah, I just again, it's going to take some time for myself personally to get used to this kind of change. I do hope that they might, improve it. Maybe they'll figure out a way where, the longer stuff like the SVD, the Moors and stuff, it is upside down, or they can find a different way to do it. Or heck, even if you're in a vehicle, they just make it outright invisible if they don't already.
Exactly, just hide the proxy.
Just hide the proxy. They should do it with bags as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's
I feel like that'd be a lot
one
better.
Of those things. Yeah, it's just one of those things that maybe somebody needs to put in the feedback track or just let them know about it.
And we might not even know. They might be working on that, and it might be something that comes out in the future patch.
Well,
so we can hold hope. We can hold hope.
At this point, though, I think that this is just us kind of nitpicking about a attempted helpful quality of life change.
True.
Actually, not quality of life. I would call this a cosmetic change.
Yes.
Take back your take back there, because quality of life is a perfect segue for one of our next topics. Lad, do you want to shoot that off?
Well, before I do, I want to address Fabian King's question. This is quite an interesting one, a little bit of a segue. Should Bohemia/DayZ for console focus solely on releasing DLC as their business model? I say to that, no. They done it once with Livonia. It was Livonia's cool, but no. No, I don't think
the community got mad. We got real mad.
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong. For a company, obviously the main purpose is to make money. Making a DLC obviously makes them money. However, they need to be I feel they need to be very careful about how they, DOJ, the sound the screeching sound you made, Lemons, is the sound of your Xbox screaming because of all the mapping you've done. But I feel like if DayZ ever does a DLC, obviously it'll be both for PC and console. It will have to be something that is completely worthwhile, that not only features a new map, but new assets and new features overall, new weapons and items and whatever else. It needs to be something that needs to be worthwhile, because I don't think people's going to spend another God knows how much on whatever for just a new map when there's loads of free ones out there in the workshop. It needs to be something.
Hear me out on that point.
No.
Hear me out on that point.
No.
So,
no, go on.
Yeah. So I think everyone here is familiar with Halo and the Forge game mode, and in Forge they give players a kind of prefab map that is a blank template they can build on. What if they wouldn't necessarily? I know because of the way Bohemia is, they have to release everything on both consoles. There's nothing limited except for modding. But what if they released a prefab map that already had all the grass and the hills and the rivers and stuff, but it was completely empty, and it gave us the ability to build off of that? We can make our own towns, our own cities, and this is something that I wouldn't recommend for PC necessarily, but more so as a console feature, because we can't have terrain tools, we can't edit any of that stuff. So what if they just gave us, and this wouldn't be a paid DLC or anything, just another option. What if we just had a blank prefab map to work on that we could build our own stuff onto? Because at least then we'd have some sort of sense of us building our own quote-unquote map instead of just overlaying and superimposing everything on top of the Chernarus and Livonia terrains. What do you guys think about that?
That topic deserves its own dedicated spot, I think, because it's quite an interesting concept. So I think we're going to me, if it's alright with you, Dump, and New Lemons, I want to shelve that for next week.
Okay.
No, definitely shelf that.
Okay, Brill.
Start a petition about it.
No.
No joke. No joke.
Please, no. Oh, shit. But I completely fucked up my position in the webcam now. Jesus Christ, that was not worth it.
You're so passionate about it that you're even your cam is jumping from joy. You know?
Shut the fuck. But yes, but yeah, it's it would be performance nightmare unless you can bake items as WRP. It will run horrible, probably. But like I said, we'll talk about it next week. Now, the topic that we wanted to discuss about. Let me just bring it back up. But Now, we touched on this last week. Asmondians quality of life thread. How many of it actually did get introduced? I can think of one. And that was the armbands. If I can bloody find it.
The flag armbands, yep.
Craft armbands.
What about the sawed-off weapons?
and that, yes. So 2. Okay, you got us
We also
there.
have
So
the
2.
dynamic zones.
All right.
He recommended to make new dynamic zones with multiple objects. That's
All
another
right.
one.
All right. Fucking 3.
Our tear gas items. They didn't put tear gas in, but they put something similar to tear gas bombs in. So that's 4.
All right. 4.
The improvised clock bombs.
Shut the
That's
fuck
5.
up. Shut the fuck up. There was quite a number of stuff that were added to point 18. There, we're happy. Oh, we're happy now?
I mean, are you happy now? You're the one who's kidding.
No, but seriously, there's been quite a number of quality of life suggestions that were previously in this thread, which are now coming in 118. One of which is the craft arm bags. Not necessarily the courier bags, but that should be...
They should have done that.
They should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there was the sawn-off weapon. As we know, the Blaze and the Magnum are getting sawed off, which, honestly, the Snub-Nosed Magnum looks... Oh, it looks
Beautiful.
so nice.
I agree.
It looks really nice.
Old school mobster from New York.
The performance is probably the weapons probably be terrible now, but there you go. It's there.
It looks badass. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there was the explosive devices, which I think we could kind of guess that they were going to do. This DOJC, the devs listen to the community. This is absolutely not a coincidence, Kappa. No, totally not. No, I don't know what you're on about. But yeah, so it is really nice that some of these quality suggestions, even it is a coincidence, have been added.
Big coincidence on that note.
Big coincidence, yes. But I think, like I said, I think we could have kind of guessed that there were some objects that were going to be used for some kind of explosive device. We've been seeing it for months now. With the alarm clock and the kitchen timer, it's a no-brainer that we were going to get something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's pretty interesting that we did get some of these things. The dynamic events, I feel with 118, obviously, we do have some new dynamic events coming up with the trains. However, from what I could see, creating your own dynamic events will be quite a bit easier come 118, which is great.
And
so
possible at all on console, because that wasn't even a thing before on console. So
well, that's it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And I mean, touching on this idea number 40, dynamic events, abandoned night camps and fireplaces, Asmondians suggested essentially a camp, right? For the past couple of years, I've always wanted to have a mod where it was a dynamic event. And you would go into the woods and you'd see a bunch of destroyed tents. They've got holes in them. There's loot, scattered around. The fire's still going, so maybe a horde might have come through or something like that, or a bear or something. That idea got a little bit more solidified when we got the sounds of the helicopters. I was like, I really should do that, but I couldn't really understand it. But now with 118, it's going to be so much easier to do that kind of stuff.
We have the static objects. We can do.
It's going to be so nice. But it's going to be really, really cool. It really, really is. And I do hope that more features do get added in future updates. It's going to be really, really nice. And something I noticed as well is that they just retextured the first aid kit for the Claymore kit, which honestly saves resources, a new model, new texture, can't complain.
Love it.
One thing that I don't mean to bust DayZ's balls here, but one thing that I wasn't too happy about, which didn't make sense, is when you cut up a flag to turn into an armband, the decal on the flag got smaller to fit on the armband.
You know what I say to that? Suspend your belief. Shut up. It's fine.
Gosh,
it's fine. It's fine. No, but
you know what? There would have been people who would have been unhappy that the decal was cut in half or whatever.
Well,
that's true. That's true.
That's it.
Yeah. And even one big issue too is on that topic, you can't even cut up the flags with some knives right now. And I think that's just a bug that's going to be fixed in a new patch.
Mm-hmm.
But in experimental, I couldn't even use some of the knives to turn the flags into armbands, and I see Dumpgrahs. You seem to have a opinion on that.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you think that's a red flag?
How so? How so do you think that'd be a red flag?
Oh my god, do you not get the fucking
Wait for it.
Oh yeah, you're hilarious. You're quite.
Oh, you love it. But if you guys are both done talking about it, I actually want to say something to end this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Are you guys done?
Yeah.
So if anybody is watching and wants to give feedback and suggestions, look at Asmondians' examples. He has 4 of these done, and a lot of his suggestions are inputted in. This is the way to get things inputted into DayZ. Not only is it polite, but it's constructive and it's well thought out. Tagging DayZ on Twitter with your unfortunate, sad to say, rants or disrespectful tweets telling DayZ to fix stuff or get aggressive isn't going to make DayZ listen to you. This is one of the decent ways to do it. And look how many things are actually being noticed and actually, even whether it's coincidence or actually used from this, are being put in. So I just want people to realize that this is a nice way of doing things, and this is probably a better way to get noticed when you're trying to give proper feedback.
Yes, and that's the main thing. It's like, sure, you can shout and scream, and in some cases, yeah, it's from a place of love, kind of. You're passionate about the game, and maybe you're frustrated, so it's like, but it's one of those things.
Making sure you use that passion correctly.
Yes, exactly. Using the feedback tracker, they have completely ignored duping methods for over a year. I don't think it's a case they're ignoring it. I think it's a case that they're trying to figure it out, and it's very difficult when you have 2 to 3 engines in one, and the networking is terrible.
DayZ Hub here said the amount of fixed DayZ cars I see on Twitter.
Get your bingo cards. Let's fucking go. There's got Spaggies. What about Xbox? Fixed cars. Dead Xbox? Game. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to address the whole duping thing, I can count on my hand about 5 ways to dupe that they've removed in the past, 2 to 3 years. Just to let you know, they are working on it.
It's not perfect, and we can, for any new viewers, I'd like to make aware. But yes, we talk a lot of positive things about DayZ, and some positive things about BI. But we want to let you know that we are critical of their progress as well. If we think that they messed up, we will openly say they messed up. We'll try and talk about the perspectives a little bit to try and understand the kind of their stance that they've chosen. Like, for example, going back about the proxy for the weapons. I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. I can kind of understand why they've tried to do it, but I think it was a bad move. I think they could have done it in a lot better way, but I don't have a way to...
Or the broken textures on Xbox.
Oh, no, it's a feature, right? It's an unintended game feature.
Not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's just one of those things. But again, the feedback tracker, it is a good source, and maybe if you can get enough people talking about it, you can go for it. But at the end of the day, it's whatever you decide to do.
You gotta listen to this. Liquid Lunch, I hate to cut you off, but he said people should just see cars as an environmental enemy that only aggroes when you sit in the driver's seat.
Oh my god. It's like a mimic chest. When you open it, it kills you.
Yes. Jesus Christ. But and that's the thing. It's like, we love the game, but we know it can be a bit interesting.
Special.
Let's just say that. Interesting and special.
Definitely.
But I mean, I can't wait for the next quality of life list, or heck, even more quality of life stuff. In fact, one thing I do want to leave on that topic with: the binoculars have been resized.
Oh,
Thank God for that. 2x2 now.
It needed it.
It absolutely.
It was such a joke.
When
you have a hardcore player like me who would rather carry a hunting scope than binos, it's broken.
That's it, yeah. Oh, bloody hell. But yes, that is, for now, all the topics and more that we are discussing this week.
Nice.
Good show, lad. Good show. It's been absolutely wonderful.
5 minutes to spare, too.
5 minutes to spare. Yes, we are under the time. So yeah, we're trying with the podcast at the moment. We're trying to aim for a certain amount of time, between an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes we'll go over, sometimes we'll go under. Either way, want to make sure that we don't go on too long for you guys, so it's not tiresome or anything like that, or we talk on for too long. But it's been an absolutely fantastic show. Absolutely fantastic show with a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of more stuff to talk about next week. And we are in the works to get on our first guest on next Friday. Who is it going to be? No idea. No, I'm joking. We are planning...
You'll find out, quick end.
Goodbye. We are planning on getting a very cool streamer who I love his content. His attitude, his demeanor is just so positive. It's really, really nice. And he's got a soft, soothing voice. Not gonna lie. He really does.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush.
We are planning on getting Reverend on next Friday as our first guest. We're in the talks with him right now. Yes, we're in the talks with him. Gonna get everything set up, and we shall keep you guys updated. But it's gonna be an absolutely fantastic one. But we can't just leave right now. Spotlights. Can't forget about them.
Spotlight.
Like I did last week.
Yep.
Dump, what was your spotlight for this week?
My spotlight this week is going to be on a modder. It looks like a nice person called Zenerchrist made a mod called A Cause of Death, and it allows you to go up to a player's dead body and hold the F button to see how they died. From what I can tell, it gives you whether they died from a gunshot and stuff like that. It's kind of like a bug, whatever. But I think it's a really cool thing. The guy allows repacking. Remember, guys, modders are amazing people, help make the PC community what it is. Please make sure to show them some love, whether it's a like, a follow, a kind word, or even a donation.
Well, that's it. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's really cool. I kind of want to look into that mod a little bit more. I think it'll be really interesting.
The stream, if you guys are interested.
Hell yeah, my boys. And what about yourself, Lemons? What you got for us this week?
Well, usually I have a specific person that I like to talk about, but this time I want to shout out DayZ and the community on console, because I can't wait to see all the amazing things that are going to happen once this 1.18 gets released to stable. And I've already seen people start doing stuff for console. So a lot of big things are in the works, a lot of cool things in the works, and I just can't wait. And I can't thank DayZ enough for doing this, because it's something that we've all wanted. So the fact that they listened, they heard our prayers, they saw our petition, they did it. Yeah, 900 signatures. 900 signatures. Like, but they listened. They listened, nice. And that's all we can ask for at the end of the day. The fact that they listened to their community. So my heart goes out to them for doing that. But that's my shout out.
Too right. Absolutely fantastic. Mine is actually going to be for the modders who have been moving from DayZ to Arma Reforger. There's been a lot of voice channels going on, a lot of discussions, a lot of chats been going on the past few days, trying to figure out these new tools, cracking them open, and just really experimenting with them and actually seeing how things have been going. And I've been seeing a lot of interesting things, like somebody decided to put a BTR turret on top of one of the Russian vehicles, which works surprisingly, which is fucking great. I don't understand how they've done that, so I'm gonna have to learn how to do it. But yes, those guys have been doing absolutely fantastic work, and I can't wait to see what we can do. I really can't wait to see what we can do. I just hope that we can make Winter ever run. That'd be sweet. And if anybody else steals that idea, you know what I'm gonna do? Absolutely fucking nothing. Apart from praise, yeah, because Jesus.
He's being modest. He's going to one-up you.
I'm going to put snow on the roofs. No, but seriously, but yes, so those guys have been absolutely killing it, as always. But you guys have been killing it as well. Dump Lemons, you've been doing absolutely fantastic, and our community has as well. You guys are watching more than ever before, and it's really, really lovely to see. And I've seen a lot of familiar faces, names come in at the chat, talking to us, saying some really interesting things that, has raised some quite interesting questions that, I do want to talk about some other time. But for now, we are going to be leaving you guys. It's been absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really do appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys same time next week with, hopefully, our good friend, Reverend. Take care, guys. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Until next time, guys. Take it easy.
Bye-bye, you saucy boys. But yes. And that was it. That was episode 105 of the DayZ Podcast. It's been really, really lovely. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. I really, really do appreciate it. If you want to support the podcast, go ahead and take a look at the Patreon. We're going to be fleshing out some details to do an after show. We'll announce that when that is going to become more of a thing. We'll keep you guys updated with that. A lot of stuff been coming up in the pipeline. It's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be really nice to see. And I can't wait for your guys' reaction. We've done a poll recently about the Patreon. People seem to support it. There were some naysayers, but that's kind of okay. That's all right. A lot of outreach for the Tuesday stream, which, by the way, was amazing. Was absolutely amazing. We saw some really, really good numbers and some really awesome people come in. And yeah, and if there's any more events like that, both for Fort Armor Reforged at DayZ, we'll be doing the same exact thing. Doing live reactions and stuff like that. If that's something you want to see, let us know. I want to try and work out on some more stuff so you guys can represent the podcast in the 87 point, the Survivor FM altogether. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic if you guys could get yourselves more involved with that. But we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for coming along, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Much love to every single one of you. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Bye-bye.